Put down the hammer, Sheila, and give yourself a fucking break.
The Spiritual Shitshow Podcast with Suzanne Soul, episode 31.
Hello, all you delightful fucking nuggets, and welcome to the Spiritual Shitshow Podcast, where we get into the steaming pile the healing and spiritual awakening journey can be. I'm your host, Suzanne Soul, comedian, lifelong spiritual student, and I'm sharing the precious moments I've learned along my journey that have helped me, and that I hope help you too. Okay, obvs, I was being cheeky when I titled this episode, There Are No Rules in the Here and Now, or let's just say it was a bit of an exaggeration, because for now, there's gravity and the law. But seriously, boo, let's talk about it. How many times a day or week do we stop and think, I should be doing this with my life, or I should be doing everything differently, or I'm doing it all wrong, or I should have handled that thing the other day differently, or I fucked up the last 10 years of my life by making that move, or I ruined my life by taking that job, etc., etc. Basically saying it should all be different from how we're living or doing our lives in any given moment. When you know you're actually just doing your best, man. And that's all you really can fucking do. Obvs, disclaimer, I'm not saying that when you're not taking care of yourself or when you're avoiding life with distractions like drugs and alcohol, sex addiction, codependency, or if you're committing crimes or harming others, I'm not saying, keep going, babe. You're doing great. I'm 1,000,000% not saying that. I mean, I'm not trying to judge. I have totes been there. I mean, the addiction part. And I know you're trying, but just keep trying and get some help. And disclaimer, if you are harming others, you definitely need to try harder and get help, my friend. Because no matter how many people you hurt, it won't make you feel better or even avenged. Because we can't go back in the past and change it. But we can change our perspective of it, which can happen in therapy for sure. So go get some help, please. I know that was a long disclaimer, but we needed to say that. What I'm talking about, or the folks I'm talking to who are trying to do right by themselves, right by their souls, their truth, their heart, and saying that even when we feel like we're fucking up, we really are doing our best. And we're just not going to get it right 100% of the time. So put down the hammer, Sheila, and give yourself a fucking break. Sometimes our best is Magnitsky's. And sometimes our best totally fucking blows. It's just bad. And like Bruce Hornsby said in the 80s, that's just the way it is. And it is, unless you know a different way or live in a different universe, which like amazeballs for you. But I mean, most of us are here, wherever this is. LOL. Unless you're a perfectly perfect person, you are going to screw the pooch sometimes. Okay, earmuffs for the perfectionists. A lot, girl. Like a lot. And whoever tells you different is a total prick who is trying to make you miserable for being human. So fuck those motherfuckers. So we're gonna fuck up. Sometimes royally, sometimes just a bit. And, sometimes we're gonna be boring and stupid. And sometimes we're going to be brilliant and killing it. But I think it's how we treat ourselves in the poopy times that has the biggest impact on our lives. Because here's the thing. Sometimes life, aka spirit, aka our soul, may be growing us or helping us move through something stuck inside of us. And in the middle of that process, we're like, no, soul, you're doing it all wrong. I jest. But when we're being hard on ourselves because we're experiencing tough times, or when we make a mistake or blame ourselves because we think if we were different, we wouldn't be having this difficult time, it's what's called in Buddhism the second arrow. Now you might be like, what the fuck is the second arrow? Okay, shut your pie hole and I'll tell you. Okay, so example, we're having this shitty or boring or painful situation. Disclaimer, not talking about physical danger. If you're in physical danger, call the po-po and get the fuck out of there. But we're in a job we don't like, someone we like doesn't like us back, we're struggling financially, all the things that can be occurring in our lives that suck. And so we're already dealing with a challenging circumstance. And so that's the first arrow. A blow to our ego, a dash of our dreams, a break in our heart, a knock of our self image. And our response to that situation is, oh, yeah, life. You think you're going to get me with that arrow and I'm not going to do anything about it? Well, listen to this. If anybody's going to arrow me, it's going to be me. That's right. I've got my own arrow. Yeah, it's a second arrow. Didn't see that coming, did you, life? And now I'm going to arrow myself. So there. Oh, take that. And there's the second arrow. That's when we add self hatred, self blame, beat ourselves up by saying crappy shit to ourselves on top of whatever challenging situation we're already experiencing. Nice, right? Sounds like a day at the park to me. Let's pack a picnic. Okay, so it's not that self reflecting and looking at the patterns and beliefs that may be playing a part in us being attracted to and finding ourselves stuck in the same situations over and over and over again is not a good thing. I'm not saying that. Self reflecting and checking in with ourselves is a good thing, and it's a fucking smart thing to do. Like, okay, let me look at all of this and, maybe I can take some steps to work through my limiting beliefs, my traumas, my wounds that may be playing a part in the dysfunctional situations in my life. Maybe I'll go to therapy, journal, take a class, get a coach in the spirit of saying, I want to fix my part, or at least try. Instead of saying not nice and not helpful things to ourselves like, you suck, you're stupid, you're such an asshole. That does not help. And I get it. It's hard to get a handle on the part of us that says that kind of stuff to us. It's a young part of us that may still be emotionally and psychologically trapped in a difficult situation from the past and trying to get out. And our solution to it has always been, I know what we can do. We'll get rich and famous, or win that competition against that person, or just be perfect. And the young part of us may be like, this isn't working because sometimes we win and sometimes we lose. And when we lose, I feel like poo, and there's no way we can just keep winning every time. It's just not passable. So, can we focus on helping me? And they're not wrong. So, our intentions for our goals is everything, it seems. But here's an important point to remember: our perspective of life changes all the time. And sometimes, if we're having a good day, everything is great. And if we're having a bad day or a tough time, snot. Like on Monday, I had a friendly interaction with my barista at my fave coffee spot that just set my day off right. And I look at my life and think, you know what? I'm doing great. And on Thursday, some shitty thing happens, like someone came into the work bathroom while I was trying to poo and wouldn't leave. And I was cramping for like 10 minutes. Or maybe I'm just low on vitamin D today. And I'm like, I have literally completely ruined my life. Or maybe you're not as dramatic or neurotic as I am. But maybe you are. And if you are, congratulations. It's like living on a roller coaster in a comfy robe inside of a dark comedy slash feel good adventure film. Am I right? Anywho, I'm being very silly in this episode, and I don't know why, but I just am. But my point is that there are no rules for what is supposed to be. There's no supposed to, except what we make up and tell ourselves. I know that's a lot to take in. We can look at people's life stories and experiences and use all of it as a measuring rod to determine the success or failure of our own lives. But we are the ones who are deciding. It is our own point of view we're ingesting, even when someone else tells us what they think about us or our lives. We are the ones to agree if we believe what they say is the truth. And for some of us, we just have to be really mindful that we haven't just found another way to be hard on ourselves. Am I right? You know I am. Because other people's opinions of us, you know. You down with OPO? I try not to, yo. Sorry. I know. but I had to do it, and I'm sorry. But if I'm tired or having a tough time and someone criticizes me, I can be vulnerable. And those OPOs take hold if we agree with them, even if we're agreeing with them unconsciously. And how do we know that we're agreeing with other people's opinions unconsciously? We get really hurt by their opinion of us, which BT dubs can also change with their moods. So, not reliable, anyways. Listen, it can be fucking hard to forge your own path for your life, especially if you are starting with not the best self esteem and have to build your confidence to do it. But things like the hero's path, I talk about in my Joseph Campbell and the Power of Myth series, check it out, can be helpful if used with kindness toward ourselves and not as a barometer of how much we're failing or how much we suck. So, is there a way for us to use the guidance available to us in mythology, books, stories, the experiences of our loved ones, and even in our own past experiences to help us along our way without measuring ourselves against those references? Yes, Queen. If we remember, there are no rules in the here and now. There are no guarantees. There are no total limitations. There are no absolute no's and no absolute yeses. So, I was going to talk about something else for this episode, but I was so inspired by my conversation with my guest Levi Kreis in episode 30. Check it out after you listen to this episode, of course. But I was inspired to talk about when our here and now is difficult. What we say to ourselves matters. And it can be really challenging to ride that fine line between owning our shit and taking accountability for our choices during difficult times. And disclaimer, FYI, there's no getting out of the fact that we will experience fucked up shit and fucked up times at certain points in our lives. Obviously, we don't like having to deal with hard times, but it's a part of life. Challenging times are going to happen. And I think it's all how we roll with difficult times, and most especially how we treat ourselves when things are shit, that makes all the difference. But like I was saying, there's a fine line between owning your shit, aka assessing, and self reflecting, and trusting that spirit or your soul is always acting on your behalf for your good to move you forward toward freedom and expansion, even when it's hard, and maybe even especially when it's hard in the struggle and in the moment. I loved what Levi said about not demonizing the struggle, because that is a really tricksy thing that the mind does. Like when you tell yourself that you're failing because you're struggling. Lately, my life has felt challenging. On my creative journey, there have been setbacks and there have been failures and rejection, but there have also been a lot of wins. And I'm healthy, and that is a huge ass win that I do not take for granted. But when you're deep in the middle of the struggle, the losses, the failures, and the rejection can seem so much louder than the wins. And because they can be so loud, we're quick to incriminate ourselves and judge ourselves and criticize ourselves. So, if I take this idea that there are no rules in the here and now, there are no shoulds, because I say this line in my one woman show. Yeah, I had to throw that in. But the line is, our life purpose is something we can only look back on. Because that's true. We can't really know what the purpose of our life is until we look back on it. That's why the saying exists. Hindsight is 2020. FYI, like I said, it's from my one-woman show, The Spiritual Awakening Comedy Cabaret. Available for bookings in your spiritual center or venue. And BT dubs, there are no F-bombs or profanity in the show. I saved the saucy talk for here, for our special place called the Spiritual Shitshow Podcast, and everywhere else in my life. This is true, you know what I mean? In it, I share the story of my spiritual journey, which, this just in, there is no one and done when it comes to the healing and spiritual journey. The spiritual and healing journey is like layers upon layers of journeys and healings, all happening concurrently, staggered on top of each other, continuing to move forward and backward. Yeah, sometimes backward, I'm sorry. But the upside is that you do improve as you go. You grow and you become better equipped to deal with life and better acquainted and appreciative of yourself. And you learn to love yourself more and others. And it's really amazing. I'm just saying it, keeps going through your whole life and it's layers and, it's not linear. That's all I'm saying. Oh, sorry if you were hoping that. Speaking of layers, let's talk about the layers of shit we pile on top of the present moment to judge it, like models in a fashion show. Ah, perfectionism. There she is, walking in her caftan, like a summer breeze, ready to blow your courage into the sea. And let's not forget about self criticism. Here she is in a lovely silk nightie, perfect for an evening of telling yourself you're doing it wrong all night long. And last but not last, the sultry self incrimination. She's like no other, yet like all the others. And here she comes, traipsing down the runway in yellow organza, telling you it's all your fault because someone yelled at you yesterday. Look at her. She's stunning. Like, she actually stuns you by blaming you for the random shit that happens in life and also for other people's moods. Isn't that wonderful? She's just a delight. So that was the Layers of Fashion shit show. Hope you liked it. So what I'm saying is there's like all these delicious, insert sarcasm here, layers that we lay on top of our present moment to judge it, to condemn it, to say it's not enough, to say we're not enough, and thusly we are not meeting the standards or rules of the moment. That who is holding in place? I don't know who. Okay, so all these standards and rules come from all over the joint. Shit we picked up as kids from our parents, families, teachers, the news, TV shows, your critical ex, and on and on and on. Because once we were already bogged down with a bunch of rules and standards and shoulds and shouldn'ts, we were primed and ready to be able to hold on to more and more and more. So, real talk, when we're baby munchkins, we followed these rules, some helpful, some soul crushing, to survive, to make sure our parents liked us enough to feed us and clothe us and not sell us to the circus for $35. And some of those old rules, like don't be too much, don't say how you feel, don't ask for what you need, don't embarrass yourself, don't look stupid, don't be vulnerable, don't outshine or succeed too much, or you'll make other people insecure. Some crazy ass rules that were put into many of our little noggins are not that helpful. And now here we are, the unknown keepers of the rules and the shoulds, and we're shoulding all over ourselves. And these not so helpful rules can be obstacles when we're working really hard toward a goal or vision for our life and we're deep in the trenches and we're pushing through our limits and fears and self sabotage so we can keep moving forward. My cousin Peter Mastrogiacomo, who is the CEO and founder of Grace and Sky Creative Agency, who he and his team have been editing the in person guest episodes for me. So, shout out to Peter and Jacob and David and all the editors and amazing team at Grace and Sky. Always love you, always grateful for your amazing work. Anyways, I was talking to him the other day and I told him that I had been up till 3 in the morning editing to get my last episode out. He said he was proud of me, which of course made me feel good. But he also said, it's like you're in boot camp. And nothing has resonated with me more in the last few months than that analogy. So thanks for that, cousin. But that is what it feels like. And when you're in that place of grinding, it's so vulnerable and you're just not getting a lot of sleep and you're just going for it. And it can be frustrating sometimes. And, but I noticed that when I'm working and striving, from a place of trying to escape myself, my pain, my trauma, my wounds. I start thinking that my vision or my goals are going to help me escape my fears, my trauma, and my stuff inside. And it's not that going for your goals and achieving your goals is not going to affect you in a positive way, because it 100% will. And it will change you and it will grow you. And while you're in it, but it shouldn't be an escape plan for you to get away from yourself. Because if I'm thinking that way, then when I make a mistake or something doesn't work out the way I'd hoped, that young part of me gets so upset. Like, you promised this would help free me and make me feel better. And I start beating the shit out of myself. You're not doing it right. You're not being effective. You're not enough. And when I noticed that I was doing that, it made me realize that even if I was the biggest success in the world, I would still be with me, and I would still have to take care of my inner life and be with my pains and my wounds and my PTSD and take care of myself. And that no matter what happens, no matter how successful I might become or rich or whatever I would make it would never help me escape my own mind, because the outside world cannot free me from my own mind, help me escape my own mind. Only things like inner work and mindfulness and spiritual practice can help with that. And the wounds and pain and PTSD may never completely go away. I imagine they'll continue to lessen and calm, and I'll continue to grow and be better at self soothing and taking care of myself, because I have made incredible strides in myself over the last 25 years. But if I'm fighting to make it, to get there, to get to the end zone, to get from A to Z, thinking that once I get to Z, I'll be okay once and for all, that everything will be awesome every day and every minute from then on, and then I'll be able to live the rest of my days without any problems or issues whatsoever, forever, and I'll be delivered, and I'll be free, and I'll be saved, and totally healed. That puts me on a very interesting track. But I think the only absolute A to Z in this life may be birth to death, and that's it. Everything else is always perpetuating and moving and living and active. So if I'm seeing my goals as a way out, then I'm going to be really hard on myself and blame myself when I fail or make a mistake or get rejected. And that kind of thinking can be never ending, because no matter how many goals you achieve, like they say in the spiritual journey world, there's always another one. There's always another goal, another end zone, another level to get to, another iteration of what you see as having made it, another saving grace. And I'm not taking away from goal setting and working hard for your goals. I mean, I'm in it to win it. But I'm also taking this moment to call myself out, because I've been hard on myself over the last week or so. Not purposefully. I was stressed out and worried and scared. And I wasn't even outright saying mean shit to myself, which I used to do ad nauseum, so that is a win. But I was seeing everything negatively, not feeling great about myself because of some uncertainty and possible disappointments. And fear took over. And when I get scared, the scared part of me gets loud and stresses the fuck out and worries and freaks out. And it's a lot. And, this is the experience that I have sometimes. So when I start to believe that I can't handle the present moment, I start being hard on myself. It's because of all your mistakes that this is happening. And the imposter syndrome comes up and the PTSD comes in. And then I just really struggle emotionally. That's why it was so great to have that conversation with Levi, because he knows that creative journey struggle and how alone you can feel when you're walking in your own darkness and fear, and how hard it can be to force yourself to keep moving forward, to show up for yourself and believe in yourself when you're in pain. And it's especially hard when you think the end result of what you're going for is going to get you out of your pain and you haven't succeeded yet. So in that view, you see yourself as a failure in more ways than one. And you may even feel like you abandoned yourself because you experienced rejection or failure. But that's not true. You're still right there doing your best. And that's actually a great opportunity to work on loving that part of you and recognizing you are doing your best. And like author Matt Kahn says, love yourself more, especially in the hard times. I believe life is always working for us to help us along our personal and spiritual evolution, our healing journey, and to see that right here, right now, we are all already all we need to be, even when our specific environment may not be what we want in the moment. And that can be challenging. Not saying that if our environment is unhealthy, not to take steps to change it, just saying try to back off on the self incrimination. And another thing we might do is blame other people and believe, aka project, that they have shitty intentions for us. And why? Why do we do that? Because it's a very clever way to beat up on ourselves through a tricksy side door. I mean, are we fucking clever or not? Casting a whole play in our minds of certain people in our lives hating on us and doing everything they can do to sabotage our lives. It's his, her, their fault I failed at life because we are obviously their greatest preoccupation. Am I right? I mean, do they even think about anything else? I can't imagine how they would even have time to do anything with all the work they put into scheming to damage my life. I jest. But we are funny motherfuckers who have to watch that kind of crazy ass thinking. You know what I'm saying? I know you do. Because when I was thinking about the situation in my life that feels difficult, I had this breakthrough. What if my experience of the people around me mirror my beliefs about myself, especially when I'm struggling or frustrated? Is how I'm experiencing them mirroring my resentment against myself? Are they mirroring my intolerance with myself? Are they mirroring my frustration with myself? Am I seeing in them, aka projecting, my frustration for myself onto them, believing that's how they're seeing me when I'm the one narrating the audiobook in my head? Can I get an amen? So, while I was doing some research, I came across the present moment guy of the moment, Eckhart Tolle. And someone asked him the exact question I was trying to find the answer to in one of his videos. So I was like, yippee! So I'm going to tell you what the question was and what his answer was because it was amazeballs. The question was, how do I strike a healthy balance between simply accepting life as it unfolds and actively working towards and striving towards goals, destinations, and aspirations? And Eckhart Tolle was like, accepting life and the present moment as it unfolds is the foundation for conscious and sane living. There is nothing else. Does that mean you cannot have goals, aspirations, want to achieve this, do that? No, girl. Accepting the present moment doesn't mean that you can't still have goals and aspirations. Because goals and aspirations are actually totes compatible with accepting whatever is arising in this moment. In this conscious state, the motivation for doing the goals and aspirations is pure desire of doing. And in the unconscious state, which denies this moment and wants to make every moment into a means to an end all the time, it's where we are denying the moment, not embracing, honoring, appreciating it. Then the motivation for our action is dissatisfaction for what is. And the action or goal is looked at as a possible way of overcoming the discontent and dissatisfaction we feel with the present moment, which he said is a very normal pattern that motivates many people. Like, we don't feel good enough. There's something missing in our lives. We don't feel recognized. We don't feel loved. And we try to achieve something that will bring us that which we feel is missing. He's like, babe, it doesn't work. We have to start with the foundation for our life, which is the present moment, and go deeply into it. Become friendly with it, accept it, and realize it's the only thing there ever is. If the present moment is not okay, that we can still say, well, that's what is right now. And then out of that state of becoming one with the isness of the present moment, something arises and wants to take form in the world that perhaps we want to create. We want to create it out of the joy of doing instead of out of feeling a lack that we need something to make us complete or happy. So the motivation changes. And then this motherfucker drops this: stress is a sign that you've lost the present moment. The next moment has become more important than life itself. Y'all. OMG. That Eckhart Tolle is something else. I mean, that shit blew my fucking mind. And I hope it blew your mind as well. And you didn't just think it blew. Any hoodles. I think sometimes when we put our shoulds or rules all over the present moment, it may actually discourage us from working on and building and planning for the future because we might put all these limiting and oppressive rules all over the present moment and say things like, I was just going to sit down to write this poem. Or I was just about to sign up to take this class or take that first step to start the business I've been thinking about for a while. But I couldn't do that because I'm this age. Or I couldn't do that because I don't have that education. Or I don't have the money. Or how old will I be once I graduate, you know? Or whatever the hell. And it doesn't mean that the path to get where you dream to go is going to be super easy. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have to work. It doesn't mean you're not going to have to push through your own doubts or lack of belief in yourself or your fears. It doesn't mean there's not going to be struggle, because there may be, and there most likely will be, when you're pushing beyond your usual way of doing or not doing stuff. But I think deciphering between the voice that says, I've always wanted to try stand-up comedy, and the voice that says, you have anxiety. It's so exhausting going to those places and doing stand-up. It's so hard when they don't laugh. Should you be doing that? What will people think of you? People are going to judge you and think you're pathetic, and believing things like you can only do something in a certain way or it can only happen in a certain way. And those are the rules you're putting on yourself. There's no rule that I should be doing something besides what I'm doing when I'm working toward my goals. I feel like as long as you're showing up, you're doing it right. And there's no rule that says you can only do this, that, or the other thing if certain conditions have been met. And if you do that to yourself, check in. Are those conditions actually benchmarks that keep moving? Like every time you meet one condition, another one pops up? Well, what about this one? You haven't completed this. You haven't mastered this skill yet, and now this one, and now this one. Otherwise, you don't deserve it or you're not good enough for it. But the thing is, anything is possible. Reality is that anything is possible within scientific limits, I guess, or maybe not, maybe beyond. Maybe anything is possible. Because think about this. What's the common denominator? The different goals and aspirations you've wanted to go for or try, or the shit you keep telling yourself in those challenging moments when you're working toward your goals and it's difficult? You know the answer, girl. And me too. So let's work on it together. Whether you're wanting to get a degree, to get your body in shape, to start a business, we want to focus on what we're saying to ourselves, believing about ourselves, and feeling toward ourselves, and being kinder to ourselves in the present moment. And when that gremlin voice comes talking loud and wanting to be heard, we can say, okay, I hear you, hun. I hear you. And we're in this now moment, and we're gonna step forward. So let's you and me be mindful that when we're having a tough time or going through difficulty, that we make it an important part of those experiences to be kind to ourselves and not doomsday everything that goes wrong. Just because that happened doesn't mean jack shit about what's next. Because, like they say, anything goes, and there's no rules in the here and now. Y'all, I hope you enjoyed this conversation, monologue, because I sure did. I tell ya, I learn something every time I work on one of these episodes. I hope you got something out of it too. I mean, bottom line, we're all batshit crazy, but we're also all amazeballs and magnifiskis. So let's enjoy it and go with the flow. And next time times are tough, we are going to remember to breathe and say to ourselves, it's okay. You're still awesome. Oh my God, I love you so fucking much. This has been the Spiritual Shit Show podcast. My name is Suzanne Soul. Thank you so fucking much for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one. Roll it, because I believe in you to roll it.